Okay, thanks for joining me, guys. Today I'm doing a revision topic on suspense accounts. This was another requested video. As always, send your requests in, because I do the videos. I don't really pick the videos at random anymore. Actually, every video I do from now on really is requested. So make sure you get them in. I've got a bit of a backlog right now, but I'm going to make sure I can get as many as I can in before your exams, which I think May, June, but I'll make sure I'm doing them. But anyway, what is a suspense account? Well, a suspense account is used to balance a trial balance. Because the debits and the credits, they need to equal each other. So we need, because if that doesn't happen, we can't do an income statement, and the balance sheet simply will not balance if the trial balance doesn't balance. So it's used to balance it, because if the debits are, say, £1,000 higher than the credits, the suspense account will be put in for that extra 1,000. So we'll have a suspense credit balance of 1,000, so the trial balance perfectly balances. So what is this in a suspense account? Well, basically, I've already said it. It's got unclassified transactions. It's basically, we don't know what's in it. We've just put it into the trial balances. We've sort of just made it up. But we need to go back over our record and find out why we need a suspense account. What errors do we need to solve? And what's going to make this trial balance finally balance after we've fixed it. So, what do you need to know really about suspense accounts? What understanding do you need of accounting to be able to do this kind of topic? I've said it before, and it's so important to know how to do your T accounts in accounting. Assets and expenses on the debit, incomes, liabilities and capital on the credit. Capital's on the credit simply because it's sort of a liability. It's the owners put money in, so the company sort of owes the money back in a way, in a sense. It's like how a football owner would put money into their football club, and hopefully that football club can repay him with trophies in a way like that. But a bit of a bad example, but anyway. So I thought I'd do two examples I made up myself. I've done one already and I'll explain that to you, then we'll go through one together. And I've got a sheet with a proper suspense account trial balance. I'm going to make it balance. And yeah. So, a non-current asset was sold for £8,000, but was incorrectly debited to the sales account. Correct entry was made into the cash book. So what have I done first of all? Well, I've got my cash book value, and I've just put in what it told me basically. Correct entry was made. So we sold a non-current asset, so obviously £8,000 has come into our bank account, so we're obviously going to debit that. So original £8,000, that's good, that's correct. So what else were we told? We were told that it was incorrectly debited to the sales account. So I've just put that in. I've simply just had to put that in. £8,000 in the debit of sales, original. So we actually haven't sold anything. We know we haven't sold anything because it didn't say we've sold anything. So I'm just going to correct that. I'm going to credit my sales £8,000 just to solve that issue. So I cancel that out. But also, we've not taken account of the fact we've lost a non-current asset. We've disposed of one. We've sold it. So that's going to count against our non-current assets. Here, assets is in our debit of our T account formula sort of thing, whatever you want to call it. So we've lost assets, so we need to credit. We're going against it. So I've just credited £8,000 from my non-current asset T account. Now this is where maybe answers get a bit wrong after the method. We've credited our two corrections. You need to ignore the originals now. Both corrections are £8,000 credits. So them two add up to give a £16,000 credit balance. So what do we need to do our suspense? We simply just need to debit suspense £16,000. So you do the opposite of your corrections, because everything needs to balance. We need equal amount of debits and equal amount of credits. We've got £16,000 of credits. We need to balance that in our suspense. So it's simple as that. So I've got another example which I can probably go through with you as well. So a non-current asset was purchased for £7,000, but was incorrectly debited to the expenses account. Correct entry was made in the cash book once again. So I'm just going to write in what simply happened in the question. So I've got my cash book. What did we do? We purchased. So £7,000. We've lost £7,000. We've had to pay for that asset, but was incorrectly debited to the expense account. So I'm just going to do my expense account, just general generic expenses account, and it was incorrectly debited, so £7,000. So how am I going to solve this? Well, I'm simply going to just get rid of the error. So that's my correction. That was an original. That's horrendous handwriting. Original. what other account do we need out of the three? It's non-current asset account, because this non-current asset was purchased. So we've just bought a non-current asset, so we've increased the number of assets we have. So we're simply going to debit it. So 7,000. Another correction. Now, what's different about this part, this question from this question? We've got our two corrections here are both credits. So we're obviously going to need something in the suspense account. Whereas you look here, we've got a debit of 7,000 in the non-current assets from there, but we've also got a credit of 7,000 in the expenses account linked to there. So them two, they cancel each other out. We've got a debit and a credit, so we don't need a suspense account, so it's no suspense entry. So basically we've just made a mistake, but we don't need a suspense, whereas this one, we did. And that's about it really for my example I made. But now I'm going to move on to a question. This isn't in the past papers, but I found it somewhere else on the internet. So I'm going to put the link to it. I've saved it to my desktop, so hopefully I can save that in the descriptions. Hopefully you can download this and print it off. If not, please just take a screenshot of it now. That's it, top to bottom. And yeah, right. So what should we take into account first of all? Right, well, the only thing we need to know about here in the top trial balance is there's a suspense balance of 9,370 on the credit. So I've made all my T accounts in advance because I thought I'd be prepared for this one. So we've got a credit balance of 9,370. So our brought down here, 9,370. It's as easy as that. And now we're just going to work on from that. I'm going to make this balance itself with no need for a carry down or anything. So, number one, an amount of £1,000 was received and entered into the cash book, but it was not known what this was for. It was now found to be a payment from a customer. Right, well, what two accounts do we need? Well, one is definitely our cash. So what's happened? We received 1,000, so that's an original entry. Now, it's been found that the payment was made from a customer. So, it's not sales, but what it's actually going to be, it's going to be our trade receivables / debtors, whatever you want to call it. Because someone who's owed us money is now paid us. So, and if a trade receivable pays us, where's my little sheet? The trade receivable was actually an asset previously, but now they've paid us. So now it's become an income. It's counting against our assets because we've lost some of our assets because someone's paid us. So we're going to have to credit 1,000, I believe, yep. So that's going to be my correction. Now, there's no opposite to my correction now. So I need to balance it out. So I need to, I've credited 1,000 in my corrections, so I'm going to have to debit 1,000 in my suspense. So now I'm going to go over to my suspense account, and I'm just going to write trade receivables. Sorry, I'm abbreviating it, but it makes so much saves so much time for me. And that's it. That's the suspense entry, and I was going to keep going through that over and over again until it balances, hopefully. So part 2, a non-current asset was purchased for 2,400 but was incorrectly debited to the expense account. Right, well, there's obviously two accounts, so expense, non-current asset. So it was incorrectly debited to the expense account. This is basically the question we did before on the other sheet. So we've incorrectly debited to the expenses account. It's an obvious error, so we're just going to have to cancel that out. So that was the original. That's the correction. That means correction. I'm just abbreviating it because I can't be bothered writing it all. So we've purchased an asset. So we've increased our non-current assets. We've increased our assets. So we must have a debit and a correction. Okay, so this is just like the second question of the examples I made. The two corrections cancel each other out. We've got a debit of 2,400 on the non-current assets, and we've got a credit of 2,400 in the expenses. They cancel each other out perfectly. So we don't need to do anything about that. We don't need a suspense entry. We just leave it. We've fixed it. The trial balance from now on will continue to balance as long as we get the figures right. So, part 3. A sale of goods on credit for 8,330 has been omitted from the sales account, but correctly recorded on receivables. So it's told us basically what two accounts need. We need sales. I think the last word was receivables, so it must be trade receivables. Okay, so a sale of goods on credit of 8,330 has been omitted from the sales account. Right, well, which side should it have gone on in the sales account? That's my question. Well, sales is an income. We're making money off it. So it should be a credit. So this is going to be my correction. And where is it? But correctly recorded on the receivables. So we sold goods on credit, so we've increased the amount that people owe us. So we're owed more money, so we have a greater asset, we have a greater amount being owed to us. So that's going to be original. We were told that. Right, now we've got one correction, so obviously we're going to have to use our suspense on this. So we've credited our sales, so we're just going to debit our suspense. 8,330, I believe. Yep. So we're going to go over to our suspense account, and we said we need to debit our suspense 8,330, which is coming from our sales account. So I'm going to write sales 8,330. Okay. So on to number 4. A purchase of £350 was recorded in the purchase account, but the trade payable account was correctly written up. Okay, so we've got our purchases account, and we've got a trade payable account, or creditors, however you want to call it. Correct. So a purchase of £350 was recorded in the purchase account as £850. Well, purchasing is an expense. It's taken away from our revenue in the form of cost of sales. So the original entry was incorrectly made of £850. So that's the original entry. Now, we need to correct that. It should only be £350. So what do we need to take away from £850 to get to £350? It's going to be £500. And how are we going to get this debit balance down to £350? All we need to do is credit £500. So that's a correction. Now, but the trade payable account was written up correctly. Well, if we were meant to debit, originally we were meant to debit purchases £350. So it's going to be credit trade payables £350. So now, how do we do? That's not a correction. Sorry, that's an original. What on earth am I doing? Original. Because that's a liability, £350. We owe people money, so it's going to be on the credit side. It's a liability. So we've only got one correction once again, which is our purchases. So we're going to have to debit our suspense because we've credited something. So we're going to debit our suspense 500. So we're going to go over to our suspense account once again, and we said we wanted to debit our suspense 500. So we are coming out of our purchases account. Is that even okay? 500. Okay, now on to part 5. How many? 8. 5 out of 8. Okay. So the purchase day book included a credit note. Right? A credit note just simply means a return. So it's a purchase, so it's a return out. Because if we buy something and return it, we're returning it out. We're giving it back. It's not a return in. It's not a sale. So part 5. The purchase day book included a return out for £230 as an invoice in the total column. the correct entry was made in the purchase account. Right, this can be a bit tricky, so let's just make sure we go through it step by step. So purchase and trade payables, this is, because it's made on credit. Okay, so it was made correctly in the purchases. So the purchase table included a credit note for 230 for as an invoice. Right, this is important. Okay, so purchases, we know that's 230. That's an original entry. Right, and another original is our trade payables will be credited 230. It's another original. What we actually wanted, that we've done this actually incorrectly, what we've done here, because we said we included a credit note for 230 as an invoice. So what we've actually done is increase something we shouldn't have done. So we need to, it's almost a reversal. So we need to correct that. Okay, so we debited one account with a correction, so we have to credit our suspense 460. Okay, so as a suspense account, it was from our trade payables. Yeah. $460. So now we're on to part 6. So let me explain that again actually. Include a credit note for 200 as an invoice. Okay, so it was actually as an invoice. Okay, so what we actually did was we actually returned some goods for £230. Okay, but what we've done is we've mistaken it as an invoice. We've actually thought an invoice means a sale, basically. So what we've done by accident is said we bought goods for £230 instead of returning them. So we put it on the wrong side. If we return goods to a trade payable, it's this side we want. So what we did was we accidentally said we bought more goods. We increased our liabilities. So it's a reverse. We put it on the wrong side. So we need to like double the correction on this side to make sure it overrides it. So we've gone from a 230 purchase in a sense to a 230 return, which is right. We did return something, but instead we thought we purchased. So that's that. Okay. So part 6. It gets quite easy now actually. Quarter electricity bills are 822. The last bill paid was in respect of the quarter ending 31st of October 2010. Oh, the end of the financial year is the 31st of December 2010. So 2 months. Right, well, first of all, what I should just reiterate. So we've gone from this basic accrual, we've gone November and December without paying our bill. So that's going to be 822. So it's 2 months of a quarterly contract. Quarterly means 3 months. 12 months divided by 4 is 3. So 2 months accrued over 3, and that's going to bring us to 548. Okay, our 2 accounts. I've already mentioned accruals, so I'll put my accruals account. And the whole accrual regards electricity bills, so I'm just going to put electricity. Okay, now, you may not have done accruals to your accounts, but I'm going to show it you this way. So, we've put no entry in so far, so you can kind of see we're not going to need a suspense, because it's just like doing the entry on the day it actually happened. So, what you do is you credit your accruals, because that's a liability. That accrual is going to go into our current liabilities in our balance sheet, and the 548 is going to be debited to our electricity because it's an expense. And that's it. We've got a debit and a credit. A debit of 548, a credit of 548. They cancel each other out. That's okay by the trial balance. Okay, number 7. Annual rent of 2,970 was paid on the 1st of July 2010 in respect of the year to the 30th of June 2011. So it's now the 31st of December 2010. So how much have we prepaid? Because I know we paid from then, 1st of July 2010, past our financial year now. It's past now, and we've paid for something 6 months in advance, the 30th of June 2011. So I've already said it, but just for backing up what I said. So how many months have we paid in advance? We've got July, August, September, October, November, December. 6 months have been prepaid. So basically, it's just going to be, our prepayment is going to be 2,970 times by 6 months over the 12-month contract, which is 1,485. So it's very similar to the part 6. It's an expense and then either an accrual or a prepayment. This time it's a prepayment. So I'm just going to put rent. This is a prepayment because we paid in advance. So it's sort of like the opposite way around compared to part 6. So we're going to debit prepayment 485. Why? Because that's an asset. And we're going to credit that because it's an income in a sense. Okay, it's an income in a sense because say we've got a prepayment. What do you do with a prepayment in the income statement? You take it away from your expenses. So it decreases your expenses in a sense. So it's not really increasing your income, it's just it counts. Where is it? Expenses are on your debit side, so we're just decreasing them by crediting it. So it's basically how it works. So this is just turning into basically T account practices. No suspense account. We've got a debit and a credit that equal each other. No need for a suspense account. Okay, a debt of £200 is not recoverable. So what is that? Obviously, it's obviously a bad debt. And what do bad debts decrease? Trade receivables. Someone who we thought owed us money now can't owe us the money. So, recoverable, what is that in the income statement? It's an expense. It decreases our income. And obviously it's just going to be the opposite. We've debited the bad debt account, so we're going to credit our trade receivables account. Why are we crediting it? Simply because someone we thought who owed us money, an asset who we thought owed us money now cannot pay us it, so we're going to have to just basically get rid of it by crediting it. So they basically balance each other off. We've got a debit and a credit, so we don't need a suspense account. So where is this? So getting back on with the suspense account, do these balance each other? Well, let's add them up. So I'll start the debit side. So 1,000 plus 8,330 plus 500 brings me 9,830, and the credit side 9,370 plus 460, 9,830 once again. So that's it really. I'll just put the question paper on there so you might be able to screenshot it. But that is it. As always, requests to my email. Any suggestions, comments, questions, please, if you want to put it in the comments, you can. But besides that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.